But today I want to get into a topic that's one that is a divisive one amongst Seattle Seahawks fans. There are two seemingly camps on this one, and you are either on this end or you're on that end, and there's not a way of really finding common ground between the two camps, it would seem at times. And this is about Geno Smith I'm talking, the man who 2 years ago took over for the best quarterback in Seahawks history and guided the Seahawks team over the past 2 years to a winning record both years, and to a playoff berth last year in his first year starting, comeback player of the year award winner. But yet for many fans, they have not been able to get on board the Geno train. They sort of are the belief that he's not that guy, or there's a variety of different cliche phrases that get tossed around in regards to him as to why he can't be the guy to lead this team to the promised land, or to a team that can be anything more than just, they can be average with him. And I want to start this conversation off in a place that I want to be somewhat thorough as I can on this discussion a bit at the top. And I also want to backtrack it a little bit, because my feeling on people that are in the anti-Geno camp, and I'm not one who would sit here and argue that people need to be on the heavy pro-Geno camp and that they need to sign up for the Geno experience and give him all of your full support and why. I'm not saying that. It's more about the placing him into this seemingly limited box on what he can and cannot do, or what he is or isn't capable of doing. And I've been hearing about this limited capability skill set going back to 2 years ago. And I kept hearing from fans over and over again, what I would hear is, he is what he is. I would hear, when the chips are down and you're in a game, and what really determines what's a good quarterback and what isn't a good quarterback, the thing that really determines that is whether they can bring you back from behind for a comeback victory. That final drive, that's when you know the stones of your quarterback. That's when you know what you got. Okay? And he doesn't got that. How would you know that? I just know it. There's a lot of this sense you get with the Geno thing of it. I just have this instinct. And people like me get called Geno stands. I'm going to present a whole lot of information, a whole lot of data to you guys. And I can present this to these folks on that side, and they are on the other side going, I'm not going to present anything. I'm just going to tell you he is what he is. And this is why this discussion has, in my opinion, failed to be pushed forward amongst the fan base very far. And certainly not in a fruitful way or the proper way I think it should be looked at, because we've got ourselves a really good quarterback who's played the position really well over the past couple of years, not always with a lot of things working necessarily in his favor. And we're going to cover some of that. But let's remember here, when we go back to these arguments said 2 years ago, he is what he is. He can't bring you back from behind. He's not the guy capable of being able to carry the load when you ask him to have to carry the load. You guys all heard the same stuff I did. And it prompted me at that time to go through and present this video that I posted on my channel, where I said, this is 2 years ago, before the Comeback Player of the Year award. I said, doubters, beware. I was hearing it so much in my live chat, and I can sniff out now when I'm getting a real good solid sound argument from somebody within my chat, and when somebody's just kind of coming in with emotionality, or they're just trying to throw, this is what it is, and I'm going to be magnanimous in the way that I put this, and so you just have to know it's the truth. Well, no, you got to build your argument. And I was not hearing enough well-built arguments at the time where I posted the video saying, doubters beware. He's going to come out and actually play a pretty good year for you guys. I mean, just take my word for it. He played good for us the previous year. You guys are boxing him into what he was a Jet, which isn't proper because that was 10 years ago. And it continued on, of course. I did another video when he was a Comeback Player of the Year award, thinking, man, people will start to maybe give him a little bit more respect now. You all had him in this, he's a bust, career backup. That's all he can be. But now, Comeback Player of the Year award still didn't move the anti-Geno people's needle. Still, well, you're just being a Geno stan. I said, hey, right before the contract negotiations, posted another video saying Geno is the way. Because I was watching what he was doing and saying he's doing all the things you want a quarterback to be doing, playing the position here. And while last year would look like a dip on the surface of things, when we look at this from a statistical standpoint, where over the last couple of years here, Geno's thrown for 42, almost 4,300 yards, and then last year, 3,600 yards, of course, missing 2 games, which reduced down a little bit of that. But my argument would be that last year was actually pretty much right on the button to the prior year. The completion percentage is the big dip between the 5%, but he was a Comeback Player of the Year award in 2022 for a reason. He played a really good year that year and got a little bit more of, I think, support than he necessarily had last year. Still was missing things from that support standpoint of things. Still wasn't being given everything in his favor to have things work, like a great defense or a good offensive line or consistency across the board. But the thing that stood out to last year that I think really inhibited his year from having a better year than it would look on the surface would be the pass protection. And I have touched on this quite a bit, I know, but I want to go through this real one final time, and I've got some stuff to present on this that hopefully resoundingly kind of illustrates how hard it is to play this quarterback position when you're dealing with what he was dealing with last year. And what was Geno dealing with? Here's your markers of pass protection last season, your pass blocking last season for all NFL teams. There's 32 NFL teams to my left shoulder here. And you will notice that the Seattle Seahawks are ranked 28th on this list. They're the team at the very, very bottom here, with teams like New England, New York, Pittsburgh, Giants. Do you notice there that the teams that are at the bottom in pass protection don't seem to have particularly good offenses? Now, you say, well, they don't have good quarterback play as well in addition to that, chicken or the egg. But it's undoubted when you look at them that they're also not doing too well when it comes to being productive as an offense when the pass protection is this bad. Now, we're not in the middle of the road here. We're not talking in the early 20s. We're talking worst of the worst. And I went back and looked at pass protection over the past couple of years in this way at the teams that were the worst in the league at pass protection and the quarterbacks they had quarterbacking and what those quarterbacks did in that season that they quarterbacked. So when you go to this 2023 season, in the 27th best pass protection unit was Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. In 28th, you had Geno Smith and the Seahawks. In 29th, you got Mac Jones with the New England Patriots, the Jets with Zach Wilson, Pickett with the Steelers, Daniel Jones with the Giants. None of these guys, except for Geno Smith, had a productive season. I don't know anybody's looking at any of these guys. In the case of Zach Wilson, Pickett, they're on to new teams. In the case of Carolina, they've built their whole offseason around trying to get better supporting cast to Bryce. Again, kind of furthers to my point of what I'm going to be talking about on this, that you get the guy the supporting cast, and that's when they start to really shine. It isn't the guy going out there and doing it all on his own, like a basketball player, like a Michael Jordan type. No. But Geno was the guy who was actually, with the 28th best pass protection, able to be productive last year. These other guys weren't. These guys weren't able to carry the day at work, get their offense at times even looking functional. This is a sample size, though, and I missed my 2022, which I had in here in my notes, but I did not get it in here. But let's go to even back to 2020. Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert. That was Herbert's rookie year, where it wasn't very good for them. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Herbert in this, I think, year in the 2020 year had a bit better season than any of the other players I looked at through this time period, but all of the rest of the players I looked at for the last 3 years of time period on this, nobody was having a good year with the exception of you have Burrow and Cousins had a good year in there. That's it. The rest of the guys, when you go through these lists, 2021, Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, Matt Ryan, Tua, and Brissett. 2022, Tua was on there again in a combo package. You just don't see quarterbacks playing particularly well when they're having this bad offensive line. So Geno playing well and overcoming that is something to take note of, is what I'm trying to say here in the long form of this. And that it's not just merely you can go, well, there's all these other quarterbacks who have been able to ball out behind that. You can find a select one or two in the last 4 years who've done pretty well behind that. But even in Burrow's case, and Burrow's one of the reasons I give him his flowers for being as good a quarterback as I believe him to be, is because of the fact that he can still perform very well despite pressure. But we also saw with Burrow, he lost a whole year to a torn ACL also because of that same bad pressure, where it nixed him in that way. What stands out here, though, when you see that 28th worst pass protection is that a place that Geno excelled in, a place that I'm sure the haters on Geno are going to give no real respect here for, was that you were 9th in your sack percentage rate. So you're 28th down here in pass protection, but you're top 10 in sack rate. To me, this is a stat that directly falls then upon the quarterback as much as anything. There's some other things that help into this, but this comes down to quarterback's decision-making, pre-snap ability to assess what's going on, post-snap ability to deal with things quickly and on the fly. Because if I show you the rest of these other quarterbacks, as I just showed you before, and we go through the list of these quarterbacks through the last few years, in that 27th and onwards with bad pass protection, I'm not showing you top 10 ability to avoid sack rates. All these guys are going to be highly sacked at that point in addition to it. It's a rarity that Geno was able to pull that mixture off last year versus what you would tend to expect when it's that bad. And it can't be undersold again just how bad it is when you're getting inundated this often as a quarterback and you have no time to go through your reads and you're just trying to sometimes get the ball out of your hands so you don't get decked. And this happened over and over and over again last season. When you look at big time throws, so despite this inundation of 28th worst pass protection, and you look at big time throw rate last year, Geno comes in at 7th on number of big time throws at 32. But that doesn't really tell the whole tale with this, does it? And if you're looking at this chart that I'm showing here over the side, you want to go over to the far right-hand column and the two on the far right hand, BTT and BTT percentage. BTT is just the number of big time throws they made over the course of the season. He's top 7 on that. You can see Sam Howell there at 8, so also a top 10 rate on that. But that, again, as I say, doesn't exactly tell the whole tale, because what you really need to do on this is sort by percentage. Because if you're looking at just this, Dak Prescott's got 591 attempts. Geno Smith's got 499. So almost 100 more attempts to get that many more big time throws in there. It's actually, let's say, the percentage. That's what we want to see, right? That's what tells more of the whole tale, is that percentage as to how often if I have if I have each guy throw 10 times, who's the guy that's going to have more? And it's certainly not at sample size when you talk about 500 attempts, but who's going to have more of those big time throws on let's say that basis? And you see here with Geno, Tyrod Taylor on a heavy sample size of a couple starts. But Geno in there with 6 big time throws last year. 6% is his big time throw rate. Tied in there with Stafford, Tua, Josh Allen, Dak, all in that same place, but he is in that same place with them. How about I go back to 2022? So we show that this isn't a 1 year off situation. Geno last year in 2022, 572 attempts, few more attempts, didn't miss 2 games. Up there right beneath Josh Allen at 44. What happens when we go to the percentage? Geno's actually down a little bit of the percentage last year versus this year, where we saw him up at 6% this year, and then he's at 5.6 this year. So 0.4% drop off in big time throw percentage rate from Geno this year. So there was no fall off from this year. He increased in those throw rates. He dealt with the pass protection issues, which were a big slice and problem of this, in my opinion, and can't be just a little undersold part. But let's also, as I always say, not just go through the stats. Let's look at some film. Film's fun, right? Let's look through some things on Geno here, and understanding when we're watching this film that you're not seeing him, to me, as a thing that I look for in all quarterbacks when you're evaluating them coming out of college. How do you do all of the elements and things you need to do within the NFL? How do you process? How big and strong is your arm? Can you throw with touch? How's your decision making? How do you deal with pressure? You go through all of these type of things. Can you throw into a tight window? Throw from last year here to George Fant, rolling to his left. This is where the thing that gets me on some of these throws I'm going to show you folks is everybody wants the young quarterback, and the guy, and a lot of them will go to make these big throws so he can do these. These are why he's got that throw percentage in the big time rate, is throws like this. This is why he tracks on this. There are not 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that can make that throw. Rolling to their left. It's one thing to roll to your right. You're rolling with your momentum there. To roll to your left and make that throw. And he's having to make this throw, by the way, with power, with velocity, with a guy bearing down on his left. With the defender, watch the defender at the end of this with his outstretched hand here, just barely getting it. He's got to put this right in the little hole. Puts it right in there. Consistently has shown this ability to throw left. How about last year with the Browns? Russell Wilson did this. It made the fan base lose their mind. Geno does it. Well, I mean, I guess it was kind of cool. It was all right. Gets out of pressure, rolling to his left. Instead of having to throw with velocity here, he's got to throw it with touch. Keep this ball back inside the end zone. Give Lockett an opportunity to make the catch. Puts it right on the spot. Lockett is running in this point. There's no he doesn't have to slow down for this. He doesn't have to wait for the ball. The defender doesn't catch back up to it. He puts it right on the right spot in the back of the end zone at the right time, but also the getting away from pressure. The mobility inside the pocket. Geno's not going to be a scrambler. I'll give people that give him that little bit of a knock, but he can get away from pressure. He's not a statue back there. Hell, he showed this offseason. Fastest guy trained this offseason on the RPMs that they do with the GPS stuff. About Nat Fant on another Arizona crosser. You're going to see a lot of these in the grub offense. 2 defenders right there. 2 defenders right there. And he layers this ball in just perfectly. Notice how he kind of layers that. That's where we go layer. That's a layered throw. Where he's not throwing that with pure velocity. He's putting that in with the velocity, but also with just that touch at the end. You can see perfect mechanics, stepping right into his throw. He's got to have the arm strength to fit this ball in. Right past the defender. That's a high level throw right there. Play action. Again, see his feet. That's called throwing him open right there. Fant's got a little separation here. Again, a crosser. You're going to see this all day long with Grubb. All day long, you're going to see this play with Grubb. But notice here, he throws it with a little extra distance outside of Fant. This isn't a 9 route. He's got to throw this horizontally rather than vertically. And he's throwing him open at the end point on this. Again, picture perfect footwork up on his front foot. Another throw where there's got to be a little bit of layering and a little bit of velocity at the same time here. Show me a tighter spiral in the league on that. Van here doesn't have a lot of separation. I'll create the separation. I know he can outrun him at the end. How about lock it on the back shoulder? Lock. We got that connection, right? If I see it, I'm going to throw you back shoulder. You'll be ready for it, right? Yeah, I'll be ready for it, Geno. All right. If I see it on this, it's going back shoulder. Gotcha. On the spot. Again, the velocity is what stands out here with me. It's not an average arm strength throw. Strong arm. Legit strong arm. And the chemistry that he's going to continue to be able to reap the benefits of with Tyler Lockett, with DK Metcalf, with JSN, with Bobo this year. He's now with, especially in the case of Tyler and DK, years now he's been playing with them. And we're going to continue to get to see the benefits of that this upcoming season. But just a great throw here. Lockett's got his guy over the top. There's safety help over the top. I'll just hit it to the back shoulder throw. Quick decision making there in the moment. This could have been talked about in the huddle that they were intending to do this if they saw the coverage this way. And the timing, if you notice here, he's got pressure bearing down from behind. So the timing to make sure he gets this ball out of his hands before that pressure can get to him. Puts it right on the spot. And you can say, well, Lockett didn't get his feet. It's still a great throw. Right. This is a 9 route. I want to show you on this 9 route is watch how he uses an element of quarterbacking here of holding the safety. He's got a single high on the top. He knows Tyler can get open over the top. And he gets to this throw very, very quickly. But what I want you to watch again here when this play restarts again is watch his head. His head's going to be staring straight at the safety just to start. And then he goes over and lets it rip to the side. Doesn't just get the head drawn over there from the young quarterbacks on this play. Their head snaps right over there instantly. He snaps quickly, but there's a little bit of delay if you can see it. And it's sometimes I know hard on smaller screens here. He's looking right dead at the safety there to try to hold him or at least get him to just stay in the middle of the field. A little bit of extra time. That little bit of extra delay then makes that safety late to get over to that throw. It's a little tiny itty bitty little thing here. Again, boom, 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 boom. Now, this head snaps. Okay? It's that boom, boom, boom. Now the head snaps. Doesn't take a lot. He knows he doesn't have to give Tyler a ton of time to get that to happen, but if the head snaps and turns over there quickly, the safety arrives 2-3 yards quicker at that point along with it. That's why you want to be careful on those kind of throws. But again, this is a high-level quarterback that's looking and then getting the throw right on the right spot, of course. Along with the arm strength, all that comes into play. There's multiple things he's doing in a lot of these plays, not just one. Here we've got a play action pass rolling to his right. Can he throw on the run? Now, is this a cardinal rule breaker right here? Are you never supposed to throw back across your body to the middle of the field late? Yes. Is it ballsy as hell? Yes. Patrick Mahomes does it. Is everybody gushing about this kind of play all week long? Like, look what he did. Look at the athleticism off it. Pretty good throw. Seems like he can throw on the move as well. We saw him, showed you earlier a second ago there, throwing to his left, getting out of pressure. Here, getting away from pressure again, throwing on the move, finding DK Metcalf accurately. Come back to DK. Another play where, like I was showing you against the Bengals, you got to hold the safety first on this play. So center field safety is the person I want you to concentrate in on, folks. I'll run this a couple of times. Geno does not want that safety barreling fast down over to DK's side of the field here. Another play where I'm bringing this to show because there's a couple of really good things going on from Geno here. So right out the gate, when he's snapping again, does his head go right to DK? He's peeking, but he looks and keeps it to center field, and then comes back over to DK once he knows he's got the safety cleared enough. He can trust his arm enough to know he can fit these kind of holes in there, but he's going to hold him just enough for the snap as you're coming back. Keep your head held and then the turn. Just like before, it's not a long thing, but when it's on your drop back, that's what the safeties are looking for, is those little indications that a quarterback's going to give that you're going over to this target. So it looks like, on film, maybe a little bit like it's going immediately, but I'm assuring you it's not. It's a step, and then I'm looking when I'm going. Verse, I get under and my head's going right there the whole time. So if you're the center field safety, what are you going to do? If I come back and I'm looking right at you, I'm not giving you a tell of where I'm going initially, right? I'm just freezing you, and all I got to do is freeze you for a second here. That's the key on this with this stuff when you're trying to keep your eye discipline on the safety like that. Is I don't need to just sit there and do a no look pass as I'm staring you in the eye. It doesn't have to be like that. But you're going to go back and you're going to say to hold him, just to get him to pause for a second. What are you doing? And then you can come back over to DK on the post route here. The place that also makes this a tremendous throw. Unfortunately, it didn't work too well because DK ended up getting his ribs broken on this throw. But he tries as he can to protect DK on this throw as well. That's not a bad throw. That's not he's throwing the ball behind him on DK here. This is also him protecting his receiver here. He's trying to throw it away from the safety that's closing in on DK on the post route. So if he throws that in front of DK, he gets DK smushed. And DK ends up still getting smushed because the guy, as DK's turning, the guy's able to hit him on the back of his rib there as he's kind of turning. But that's a quarterback trying to protect his receiver here. Little tiny thing, but a thing that you're not going to see from rookie quarterbacks. Dynamic young quarterbacks are always going to be thinking about these little detail things like that on this play, especially after they just held the safety. They're going to be sitting there like, hey, I held the safety. I did my job. Oh, wait, you want me to put it kind of back away from him too? Yeah, that's kind of, I already held the safety. Can't the guy just make the catch and take the hit? We got a beautiful throw to Parkinson that unfortunately Parkinson dropped on this play, but just the pinpoint accuracy on this. He's whistling this thing 30 yards down the field, 25 yards down the field, and that ball is not tipped by the guy. Parkinson just doesn't, I think he can't even believe that the ball got in. He's like, I can't believe you fit it in there. How did he fit that thing in there? Pressure's coming on this play. Geno knows he's going to have a little bit more of a chance to deal with probably man coverage on this. It's kind of zone, I guess, but he attacks. It's a beautiful throw. This is outstanding. Little room for error. This is like the Fant throw we saw a second ago where you miss that by a yard. It's going to get knocked away. It's going to get intercepted. Puts it right back up there on the spot. Got a little bit of trickeration here. Throw back to Geno. Finds Fant between two defenders. Arm velocity, arm talent. I'm a big guy on this type of thing. It's one of the places I start with quarterbacks. Give me a guy that can make all the throws. Why? You might have a play like this where I just need you to unleash the 95-mile-an-hour fastball and get it fitted in there. They want to hit this deep initially. That's why he doesn't go right to Fant. Fant's sort of the check down. Comes down to Fant. As you can see over the top there, if you see with DK, he's got his man over the top to his DK on this play. It looks like they're bringing kind of a skinny post there with DK. And you can see the man's, Buda Baker's picked DK up in coverage over the top. So he comes down to the second. Decision-making, arm strength, ball placement, all really good. How about avoiding pressure? The Steelers game, I think he put on a clinic on how to avoid pressure this past year. I only got one or two cut-ups from this game in here. I meant to get a little bit more and just didn't get a chance, but he absolutely did a great job with TJ Watt, who was living in the backfield all day with these kind of moves. Just, it's a subtle step. You don't need to be viciously mobile in this modern era. You do need to be mobile. I agree with those people that say the day of the statue quarterback is over with. You can't do that anymore. I'm 100% with you, but he's not a statue. He can move. He can get around pressure. He can get around trouble. As he showed on this, and he showed on throughout this whole day, and then comes through not only getting around the pressure to avoid the sack, not even able to step into this throw, by the way. He's just having to kind of just sort of throw it through the little tiny pocket of an opening there that he's got and puts it right on the button between three defenders to Noah Fant. Just tremendous throws like this are littered throughout Geno's tape over the past 2 years. Oh, just littered throughout his tape. We got the Commanders, play action pass, dropping back to throw. Gets a clean pocket, like we saw a second ago, and as I was showing you before with the hand over the defender. Not a lot of room for error on this. Understands he's got the arm strength. understands he can put it up over the top of the defender there with a little bit of layering as he does, and puts it right in there to Tyler Lockett. It's the kind of throw I wanted to show on the All-22 because I don't think sometimes when you see the telecast, you can appreciate how tough a throw this is. To make sure you're getting it over a highly athletic defender like that who's got a little bit of length to him, as he was able to on that play. Again, rolling to his right, couple throws here for touchdowns. Rolling to his right, process, goes through his 3 reads, comes back to DK Metcalf late. Arm velocity as he's still rolling to his right. Accuracy as he's still rolling to his right. And then really notice here too, you get some quarterbacks and how long they take to go through their progressions. Watch how quickly he's going through his progression on this. As he goes 1, 2, 3, I got to go. And he's got pressure with Jay Curhan out there trying to do his best. Curhan cannot do very well out there, but again, I'm going to speed up here for you, roll it again here for you guys so you can see a little bit faster. It's 1, 2, 3. Get back, get away from the pressure, subtle pocket movement. See how he goes around Curhan there? This is a little thing, again, most, I think fans wouldn't notice here, but watch again how he's inside, goes outside of Curhan. Why? Take yourself back into the leverage of your offensive lineman. If Geno tries to cut this in, he goes into the defender, right? But by just going around the leverage of his player there, Curhan doesn't have to get any extra block on that play. As I said with a lot of these things, multiple things going on. 1, 2, 3 progression read. Feel where the pressure is. Go back against the leverage. Locate DK. Oh, I can trust my arm. I can throw it with velocity and I can pinpoint, put it on a spot. All that's happening in one play. And so many of these highlights with him in stats and things that he's doing really well are him doing multiple things, quarterbacking at a high level. And the statistics may not be as much there when you want to look at the raw stats of it, but when you really dial in the tape and look at what he's doing, it is there. And he is getting this stuff done. When and a lot of these highlights, not even getting an opportunity to really have the time. Now, nobody breaks open. This is almost would have been a coverage sack if you kind of would have gone to a coverage sack, but it's not like you had a lot of extra time to kind of figure things out. And the throw again right there to DK. Another one like we just saw against Washington last year. Little sprint out, quick little throw. This isn't as high level of difficult throw, I don't think, but just throws it away from the leverage, throws it away, puts it in the place where really only Tyler can go make a play on that ball. He makes it simple and look easy, this throwing on the run to the right. One of the places I was looking at with Michael Penix coming out of this draft was these kind of throws with Michael Penix. You'll get a kind of a hit or miss on whether he's going to be accurate on this. Sometimes he's going to dirt it, sometimes he's going to sail it. Geno puts it right on the spot. One place that kept getting brought up to me over and over again, and boy, did I hear about it so often, was that Geno can't bring you from behind when the game's on the line. You know, when the chips are down and when you need him to go out there and make a play, he's not going to do it for you. That's what really determines what a good quarterback is or isn't. Multiple people told me this. Multiple people have never come back at any point in time since then and said, well, yeah, he can do that. No, they just go, he can't do that. There's no way he can do that. Well, we've got in Geno the past 2 years here. I'm going to show you the stats for game-winning comebacks. And you'll see here with Geno Smith in this game-winning comeback chart, I'm showing you that last year he had 5 come from behind victories for your Seattle Seahawks. And you'll notice, there's 37, 31, 24, 20, 29, 26. It wasn't like the offenses were doing like horrible in these games. And they came back to win at 13-10 or something. He got a 21-10 on there against Arizona at the end of the year, where definitely they should have done better, especially needing that game. But 5 come from behind victories, including the one you had at the end of the year that you needed if you wanted to try to go and get in the playoffs at the end of the year, where you had to get that win or it wasn't going to happen. Notice as well, though, on this, that he had 3 come from behind victories last year. Not in 2023, but in 2022. So Geno Smith's had 8 come from behind victories over the past 2 years alone for your Seattle Seahawks. And just as one more thing to note on this list that I'm showing you, if you look at the top here, that's his 2013, I believe it is his rookie year or second year. I'm not sure on that one. But if you notice there, 5 comeback from behind wins that 1 year as well. So maybe there's a little bit of something here in him where when things do get tight, when the chips are down, that he is a guy that can bring you back in a football game. But certainly this has been one that's been heavily disproven at this point. It was on the back of last year. Frankly, to me, it was on the year before, that he has this component in his game. And it is a skill. It is a skill when the chips are down, when you're struggling, when you're needing momentum, when you're needing a big time throw, when your decision making needs to be perfect and there is zero room for error. It is a skill to be able to call on what you've got to bring for, as far as the fortitude to be able to rise up in that situation and accomplish all of those tasks. And even with those 5 winners last year, he still had one where he could have had 6, because you had this Rams game right here. This throw to DK Metcalf down to the 40-yard line. The team got a couple extra more yards to put Myers in a position to give him a win. But this throw right here, when you need a throw, the game's on the line. When we don't got another series after this, we don't have more timeouts. We don't have more extra time for you to find your way. We're not going to be able to throw a check down here, Geno. I need you to push this ball down the field. And the defense knows you're doing it. They know you want to throw it down the field. But this is also not just a blind throw that's tossed into the dark of hope and luck. Because when you go back and look at the throw, what does Geno read? I want you to look at the defender closing down. The defender closes down on Noah Fant. That opens up that small little hole over the top to DK. So he reads it off the look of Noah. Noah Fant at the top, not top of your screen, but out of the slot there. Stops, defender comes in. That opens the hole up over the top. And between 4 defenders, he's able to fit that ball in, which what should have been a game winner. And 6 comeback from behind wins last year if he had been able to get that one in. But this is another, again, this isn't simple throw. It's not easy. This is with pressure bearing down in around him. They did a good job by the offensive line there, giving him some time, but then puts the ball right on the spot, and DK with a money catch where he's got to go up and get it. And another guy in the moment there where you've got to absolutely have it. I want to go back to an Atlanta game. Similar kind of throw. 2 years ago. Tyler Lockett, you need it in this game. You got to go down and get a touchdown if you want to go get the win in this one. Play action pass. Lockett. Look at that. Look at this hole he's throwing into between these 4 defenders. And I'm not cherry picking here some middle portion of the game or some first quarter throw where it's on one of the 10 plays they've scripted throughout the course of the week. This is a throw where we're just trying to find a way here. We've got to make this happen. And he absolutely laser beams this ball into Tyler Lockett. There's 5 defenders in the given area, but you have no choice. You've got to get the ball up the field. There is no more time remaining. So what happened on this drive? How did the Atlanta comeback forestall? Did it happen on the back of Geno? Was that what accomplished that, or was it something else? Because Geno comes back a couple of plays later, throws this to Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny gets up the football field, tackle down at the 10-yard line. So 1st and 10, right? 1st and 10, you're dancing, everything's looking good. Nice little play design here by Waldron coming back. Defense flows into the right direction just the way you want it. Down to Penny. But on that play, you actually had an offensive hold. So it took it back 10 yards. Geno comes back, completes a 6-yard throw, and then this happens after that 6-yard completion by Geno. Austin Blythe blows his block right from the jump to Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett gets the sack. Seahawks are at the 39-yard line. They need to get a touchdown here. They can't settle for a field goal. You can see Grady Jarrett just completely whoops Austin Blythe from the rip here off this snap. Much like we will hope to see Byron Murphy do in the near future. That's your Byron Murphy comp guy there that we hear a lot about here in Grady. And he gets the sack and he takes it away. So Geno comes back the next play. He comes back the next play, and you have no more plays left to go with. It turns into basically a Hail Mary situation where he throws the interception. The people that say Geno can't bring you back from behind, look at that, then they go, see, I told you he doesn't have that ability in him right there. And that's where I want to get to really on the discussion talking about this is just, I understand that there are going to be the anti-Geno folks and there'll be the pro-Geno folks. And I'm always open to having my mind convinced of the anti-Geno sentiment of this. You can bring me that side of it. I know I'm certainly going to be accused as much as anybody of being a Geno stan or one of those people that is, essentially waving pom-poms for him. I'm very much not. I just appreciate really good quarterback play, especially as I showed through a lot of those different cut-ups when there's a multitude of things happening that I know go right back directly to the quarterback's shoulders and what he's accomplishing on the play to get that done. And I just think that the people that have so thoroughly buried their heels in that Geno is not the guy that can get this done, or he'll no part of this future, or he can't take us to a great season if you give him more help. Because that's what it did come down at the start. What happens when instead of 28th best pass protection, you can get him up to like 15th? Can Grubb get him up to 15th, especially in Grubb's quarterback-friendly offense, which gets the ball out of the quarterback's hand very fast? Can you do that a little bit more often for Geno? Can you make his job easier? What happens when we make Geno's job easier? I hadn't even touched on the run game woes, but outside of once you got past the first, I think it was 10 games of last year onwards, the run blocking has been very, very all over the place. And it's tended to have a lot of games where you're able to accomplish very little in running the football at times, so that it always comes back down to Geno. What happens when that gets a little bit better, especially utilizing things like fly sweeps and outside runs, which Seahawks just historically tend to be one of the league least teams in utilizing those type of plays? I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be even more improved. And I think he's dealt with in a lot of ways over the past couple of years, having to kind of run uphill and playing the position. And yet, in my opinion, he's played so well up against that, because I can show you so many more quarterbacks I can show you through a 10-year period of giving what you had to give, what you gave Geno last year, and show guys falling completely flat on their face. It's one of those places where, everyone wants to see the 4,600-yard year and the 36, 37 touchdowns, and the thing that's just, it's easy to see where it's undefined. Yeah, that guy's the guy. He showed you it right there. But sometimes you can also see that stuff without all the spectacular yardage and touchdowns. Sometimes you can just see it if you're watching them play the quarterback position and what they're being asked to do. Was it Geno's choice to target the middle of the field at the 32nd rate in the NFL? I showed you in a lot of those highlights there, him targeting the middle of the field and being very accurately when he did it. But they targeted the middle of the field at the 32nd rate. Is that Geno Smith over the last 2 years determining that he wants to do that? Or is that perhaps a mandate coming down from somewhere else? And if it is a mandate coming down from somewhere else, would it not make the quarterback position harder to play? I keep coming back the last 2 years of saying, I came into this at open mind with Geno. I didn't come into it arriving that he was either going to be the guy or wasn't going to be the guy. I was open-minded to being won over. I did think that the guy didn't get a real great opportunity in his first stop, and that's why I was open-minded, is that just because he's been a backup through the years and nobody's given him that second opportunity didn't mean he sucked. It just means that when you don't succeed in your first chance, it's very hard to get another second opportunity in the NFL. That's the disposable nature of the league, not how bad you are as a quarterback. In the last 2 years, Geno's done nothing but successively over and over again show me that he can be that guy, going with his first year and having 6 total rookies starting in that first year on a rebuild where you had $50-some million of dead money, 2 rookie tackles out there for him, comeback player of the year. Last year, the offensive line, which was just reshuffling every single week. I don't think we had ever passed Lucas after he went down after the first 2 quarters. You never had your starting original 5 back up or anything really close to it, felt like, throughout most of the year. At one point, I think he had all 5 offensive linemen out, and he was getting battered and hit within that. You get the Giants game where he gets rolled up on. You got the Aaron Donald game where he comes through and smacks him on the throw. Still comes back out there and plays. Still comes back out there and plays at a really high level. So when the supporting cast improves, when his offensive coordinator improves, when he can continue to build upon the chemistry and hopefully the offensive line can get better, I'll tell you, it doesn't have any much further to fall from where it's been. Hard to see Grubb doing worse than where they've been with that unit over the past couple of years. Geno's going to come out there this year for those people that are out on him. Those people say he can't be the guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to have a great season. Have you taken a look at the schedule? Have you looked at the defenses we're going to be facing? There's a couple of tough ones on there, but there's a lot of ones on there too that Geno can go out there and make some headway and be very productive again. This is going to be a year he's going to have his best season for your Seattle Seahawks this year. And it's easy to see it coming. And the only thing I can wonder at that time is when it happens, what will they say then? For the folks that are so out on Geno, what will it take? I've joked, and in a lot of ways, I kind of think it's the truth, that I think he could literally take you to a Super Bowl and you still would be sitting there going, yeah, but he's not the guy. And that's where we get to maybe the ridiculous part of this place for me in this conversation, why it's been so tough to find discourse on this, is that there is no item of evidence that can bring you to that side. You've determined what he is. And in my opinion, when it comes to football or any outlooks on any players in that way, you should be very hesitant to come to any kind of ultimate conclusion on a player, especially when a lot of what you've seen from him goes so staunchly opposite the direction and what you should be seeing from the data and taking it in versus what you're taking it in on. And I don't know what it is with him that causes him to be this way with the fan base to the degree it is, because people that are out on him, you're missing some great quarterback play. And you're missing a guy that can lead this team going forward, I think, and take them, I'm not saying it's going to happen this year or that he's the guy to run with in the future. I'm just saying walk into this season with an open mind. And if he goes out there and throws for 4,600 yards and puts 36 touchdowns on the board versus 9 interceptions, that maybe those folks that are in that anti-sentiment crowd start to kind of feel themselves being able to be pulled more to the, hey, he's earned the right for us to give him the support at this point. And maybe that's the bottom line on this. What does it take to get the guy the support at this point? What does he got to do? Would that be enough at that point? And with showing the names I showed at the top, what quarterback was going to be great over the last 2 years behind this offense? Many people want to go have that quarterback in the future that we go grab. Many out there are begging for us to go trade up in the draft, get that quarterback, get that guy. Do you guys think about that though? We've gotten the quarterback last year back there with your 28th best pass protection. If they had traded up in that draft, they got their Anthony Richardson. As people will tell me. Should have go trade up and get Anthony Richardson. Should have got him when you got. You went up and you got Anthony Richardson. What happened to Anthony Richardson? What happened to Anthony Richardson? He went to a Colts team whose offensive line was not ready to go. He was forced to have to scramble and run a lot. He shouldn't have played as early as he did because he should have been sitting, but because the franchise and their general manager is under a ticking clock right now, and when you guys are going to get this thing going, it's been a while. We give you a long period of time. You're not winning any playoff games. You're not doing much. Come on, get it going. That pressure comes down to the young quarterback. He gets brought into that environment. He's under a lot of duress. What'd he last to week 3? So then the people that they go anti-Geno should have traded up to get our quarterback last year. If you went and got your quarterback last year and you put him behind this pass protecting unit of 28th in the league and he gets smashed all to hell, torn ACL, broken apart, wouldn't that not have been a bad move? And isn't that something that's likely to probably happen to a young quarterback if you put him behind that much of a bad offensive line, say nothing of a defense that can't stop anybody on the other side of the football field? So he's going to be pressured a lot to have to throw a lot, especially without much of a run game to lean back on. I mentioned Joe Burrow, who's been successful at dealing with bad pass protection early on in his career there with Cincinnati. But Cincinnati didn't sit there and go, yeah, let's keep giving him that. Cincinnati took a big, strong step over the past couple of years to try to reinforce their offensive line to stop that process, to halt that process, because they understand that it's not a good one for their quarterback. And he did get his ACL torn doing that, did Burrow, dealing with that kind of pressure rate. Well, we always come back to that full circle part of this discussion that I always have. You want to go get your quarterback, get your quarterback. Get your line right first. Don't get jumpy to get your quarterback. Don't make that the holy grail of your football team. Is it a very important part of it? Is it a vital part of it? No doubt about it. Is it the most important position? Yeah, sure. But that doesn't, because it's the most important position, does not mean it should be the first position that you start to look for when you're going through this process of building a team to get to a contending state. And there's a lot of teams that show you the bad way to do it, and there's a lot of teams that show you the good way to do it. Geno went up against that, didn't get himself injured to the point where he couldn't play last year, still went out there and was able to play against that duress. It played well. He's going to play well this year. So you guys that are anti-Geno folks, what happens when he goes out and has this year that's this good? I ask you this, and not ask you this in mocking, but ask you this in really a true questioning point. What happens when he goes out and gives you the 4,600 yard year and 36 touchdowns? Is there no way that he can win you over? Is there nothing the guy can do? 5 comeback from behind victories last year, should have been 6. 8 over the last 2 years, should have been 10. He's checked every box of what we could require from the position and what he's done. And I ain't asking anybody to go give him your support. He deserves this. I'm just saying, if you're in that anti-Geno sentiment and you've painted the portrait of people like on my side of it, of Geno stands, or just, they're just, fanboys or whatever, what does he got to do? I can show you every stat in the book that shows him playing a really great level, good to great level in what he's doing. What does he got to do? We'll see. We'll see it'll be interesting to monitor the reaction of my fellow fandom on this one, because it's been kind of wild to watch over the past couple of years as he's disproven a lot of narratives about him coming in. But as I say, on this one, it doesn't seem to move the needle much. I don't know if this one will as much either today, but hopefully it does. Geno's maybe the most overhated player in the league, says Mythic. My guess as to why is because people desperately want to be, quote unquote, right about him. They want to be right about him being a bad career backup. And that's where I think this comes down to. That's, I guess, if I'm putting on my detective hat and trying to sniff out the case on this one, when I feel straw man arguments, ad hominem attacks, you get the paper thin arguments for why Geno's not this or why he's not that. You start to go back to, is it that you just don't want to have to come back and be like, I was wrong about this thing, and we want to clutch on to being right about stuff because there's something like that our ego takes a hit if we're happening to be wrong. Because when I came into this, it wasn't that I was predicting Geno was going to be comeback player of the year, but I was just, when I made that first, for instance, video about doubters beware, it was more just about, guys, I'm sensing a little bit of this where there's this loaded feeling on this guy, and you're not really in an assessment mode. It's more of, I've made the assessment, the test has been taken, the results are in, and he sucks. And that's a little the vibe I was getting at the time and have continued to get at times from him. And I think you're right. And maybe the most overhated guy, and really without reason. It's a guy that in so many ways should be celebrated. This is a guy that wasn't handed everything to him on a silver platter. This is a guy that was just had the second round pick. Got his opportunity in a spot, not great. Had to wait 10 years to get a starting opportunity. Did he crawl into a shell of himself at that time? Did he piss and moan? Did he just become super depressed and woe is me? Or did he keep working? Did he keep grinding? Did he keep improving? So that when he was going to be given his next opportunity, he was going to be ready to be successful with it. Or at least do everything that he could have done within his power to be successful with it. This is the type of story we would be celebrating in football and other places. Isn't this amazing that this has gone on, this revitalization, this resurgence? Joe, if the rest of the team was as good as their job as Geno is, we'd probably never lose. Great point. Great point. Comes back down to what's working for you, what isn't, who's part of the problem, who's part of the solution. And I've come back to again and again that Geno's part of the solution here. Definitely not part of the problem.